But we begin this hour with a major student demonstration in Ontario. Tens of thousands of students walked out of class today to protest changes to the sex ed education curriculum in the province. Ontario Premier Doug Ford's government repealed the sex ed curriculum that was updated in 2015. It addressed issues like consent, sexting, and online bullying, and taught students about same-sex relationships and gender identity. The provincial government wants schools to use the curriculum last updated in 1998 while it works on a new one. The CBC's Olivia Chandler is at a student protest in Ottawa with more.
Well, right now we're outside of Nepean High School, where about a sea of, I'd say, 1,000 students were out here protesting the proposed changes of the Ford government, and they're angry over these changes. And as you can see, right now, actually, there is probably fewer people out, but it was just full earlier. There were speeches, there were chanting, and we're here with one of the organizers, Charlotte Dwyer, to tell us a little bit about why this is important and why everyone was out, walking out of school protesting these changes, and why was this important for you?
So today we were protesting changes made by the Doug Ford government to our curriculum, and we really felt that we didn't get a chance to vote. We needed our voice to be heard because these changes are affecting us, and we don't feel that a 53-year-old man should be able to choose what is and isn't appropriate for us to learn, because I guarantee every single one of the things that's being taken out of the curriculum has happened to someone at that age, and it's just deplorable that that important information would not be given to us.
And some of these speeches were quite emotional. There were a lot of students that were really, some students I saw crying, and why is it so important for students to be out mobilizing and protesting?
Because it's heartbreaking to come into your true self, expression in terms of gender identity or your sexuality, and then to have that ripped out of the curriculum. So basically you are forgotten from the curriculum. That's heartbreaking. That is not where our world is at now, and we will not stop fighting back against that, because ultimately they are people too, just like us, and they deserve to be in our curriculums.
Thank you, Charlotte. As you heard, that's one of the co-organizers today of the protest at Nepean High School, Andrew. And really, I saw students crying. They're so emotional over this decision of changing the sex ed curriculum.
Yeah, it's interesting. Yeah, when we were showing, as you were doing that interview, we were showing the images from earlier, showing the hundreds, if not, you say 1,000 students that were out there. Olivia, can you remind us what the Ford government is doing that has prompted these emotional student protests? Well,
the Ford government has decided to change their curriculum. It was the 2015 curriculum, the most updated curriculum, to the 1998 version. And the concern basically is that the students won't be getting any education on LGBTQ issues, on consent, big issues that are impacting, from what some of the students were saying earlier to me, that impact them today, that are modern issues. And not only that, the Ford government has decided to completely repeal the Indigenous education, and this is one of the proposals from the Truth and Reconciliation Commission, and students are just frustrated, and they're just angry over this decision because they're concerned about the younger generation. These proposed changes, necessarily the 1998 curriculum, will only impact the elementary school students, not necessarily these high school students, but what these high school students are frustrated about is that their 2015 curriculum might be changed as well, and they don't want to see that happen.
The CBC's Olivia Chandler in Ottawa. Tens of thousands of Ontario high school students walked out of class today. They're protesting changes to the province's sex ed curriculum. The provincial government wants schools to use the curriculum from 1998 while it works on a new one. The Ontario student walkout just concluded about an hour ago. It's estimated that more than 70 schools and 40,000 students and staff took part. And joining us in the studio is one of the student organizers of the walkout. He is Frank Hong, the founder and executive director of the March for Education. All right, so that you're just back from the walkout that you helped organize. How did it go?
It went exceedingly well. I think at that particular school, it was around 200 to 300 students. So it was a smaller school. So like we emptied out the majority of the school onto their front lawn. And we had MPP Marit Stiles, and we had all sorts of press. It was amazing. The students had signs. They were chanting. They were excited. They were angry. And they really want to fight for their education.
And tell me about that. Tell me why they're angry and why they want to fight for this.
So in July, Premier Ford decided to really cut the sex ed curriculum, the 2015 sex ed curriculum, and then take it back 20 years to 1998. Now, I'm in grade 12. I'm about to graduate. I was born in 2001. So this curriculum is older than any student in the entire system. And it doesn't address a lot of issues like same-sex marriage, consent, gender identity, sexting, and cyberbullying. And these are issues that are completely vital to students in this day and age, and we feel it's a very dangerous step that the students are not being taught these issues in schools.
And so these are issues, though, where if you're below grade 9, elementary school students are not going to be taught these issues, right? So what do you say to Doug Ford and people in the government who say, you know what, some of these issues, maybe these kids are too young to learn about these?
Well, I think they probably are oblivious in terms of all these kids, they have phones, they have laptops. Sooner or later, they're going to learn it online, if not in schools. And I think a lot of us older students, we believe that younger students need to learn it straight from the teachers first, and they need to learn the facts first, because there's a lot of misinformation online, a lot of fake news, and we don't want students learning the wrong thing and then potentially end up in a life-changing consequence.
And so tell me about that. Why is it important to you? Why is it important to your friends when this curriculum change came into effect?
Yeah, so I actually lived under the old curriculum before 2015, and a lot of the diagrams were completely outdated. The names were changed. It's just quite ridiculous. And for these new issues to be completely erased, there's a lot of vulnerable students across the province, and a lot of them are filing lawsuits against the provincial government. And for them, it's really a matter of life or death. And it's just so dangerous to not talk about these issues and not be taught these issues.
Tell me about that. What do you mean in terms of issues of life or death?
So we have a lot of the students we've been working with are LGBTQ, and there's a lot of bullying surrounding, there's a lot of homophobia, a lot of bullying in schools, and I think it's really important that teachers teach about it to everyone in classes so that the bullying doesn't happen as much. And the sexting, I mean, it's a huge part of our culture now, and it's a very dangerous part of our culture. And we've seen, like before, Rita Parsons, Amanda Todd. I mean, these are people who committed suicide because of online bullying and sexting. And so people can actually die due to this curriculum change. And we don't want anyone across this province, we don't want any student to suffer.
And so what's the message that you're trying to send to the education minister, to the Doug Ford government, and what kind of response or lack of response have you received?
So the message we wanted to send, today we had over 70 schools participating, and so that was over 40,000 students. And so we want to show the government that we're engaged. We're not going to sit back and watch you destroy our education, destroy our rights to a safe, fair, and relevant education. And we're going to continue We're going to continue fighting. I mean, the week after they introduced the new bill to get rid of the sex ed curriculum, we organized a protest on Queen's Park at their front lawn. And so we're going to continue doing this. And the students across Ontario will never forget what Doug Ford has done to us. And so I think he has created a brand new generation of young activists that will work very hard up to 2022 to kick him out of office and maybe send him back to his mother's basement where he started.
All right. You have some strong opinions there, Frank. Appreciate you, though, coming on and talking to us about it. That's Frank Hong, the Executive Director of March for Our Education and one of the students organizing today's Ontario Student Walkout, joining us live in studio.